Her gaze was as cold as ice, her eyes flashing with hatred that could burn a hole through steel. A betrayal so deep, a revenge so chilling it would freeze the very core of his being. He never saw it coming, the treacherous plan she had concocted in the darkest chambers of her heart. But her eyes, they betrayed her. They spoke of secrets buried deep, of lies that had taken root and grown. In that moment, he had felt the icy fingers of betrayal wrap around his heart, squeezing the life out of his dreams. She was the shadow in his life, the specter of his past he had tried so hard to outrun. Revenge. He would have his revenge. If he couldn't have her love, then neither would she have peace. It was a look that sent shivers down spines and froze hearts in their chests. Every step was a testament to his unbending will. Every move a calculated strike against her carefully constructed facade. He was a predator now, stalking his prey, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. It was a heady elixir that fueled his every move, driving him forward with relentless force. The closer he got, the more the truth of her betrayal burned into his soul. She had awakened the monster within him, and now he would unleash it upon her. His world had been turned upside down by her treachery. He was a predator who had finally found his prey, and he had no intention of letting her go. She turned, and for a moment, he saw a flicker of recognition in her eyes, followed by an attempt at a smile that faltered before it reached her lips. As I do so often. She flinched at his words, her eyes widening in alarm. What? What do you want from me? She cried, struggling against his hold, but his grip was like iron. But before she could respond, he was upon her, his arms tightening around her like a vice. Don't you recognize me? He asked, his voice dangerously low. Don't you feel the darkness I bring? The coldness that seeps into your bones. I didn't expect to see you here, she said, her voice betraying none of the turmoil raging within her. You said you'd be gone. Don't you think I deserve some happiness after all I've endured? Happiness is a luxury we can't afford, my love. She gasped, her cries of pain mingling with the echoes of his own despair. Do you hate me so much? She whispered, her voice hoarse with anguish. Not when there are debts to be paid and scores to be settled. Now it was time to turn the tables and make her pay for the wreckage of his shattered trust. As he walked, he could feel her icy fingers digging into his shirt, but he didn't care. He had won his revenge. He had brought her to her knees. He could feel her trembling in his arms, her body a living thing racked with terror. And it fueled his dark purpose, driving him deeper into the abyss of her shattered dreams. But if you want to hate me, then hate me, he said, his voice devoid of emotion. He had dragged her down to his level, and now they were bound together in their shared darkness. Because I am the embodiment of your shattered trust, the specter of your broken dreams. But she had misjudged his capacity for darkness, his ability to embrace the shadows and wield them as his own. And now she was back, and this time there was no escape. I want what is rightfully mine, he hissed. But there was none. He had trapped her in his web of deceit, and now there was no escape. The love you owe me, the devotion you promised, the trust you betrayed. His words were venomous, dripping with the bitterness of his betrayal. It's too late for that, my love. The die is cast. The damage done. There can be no going back now. The irony was not lost on him. She stood bathed in the soft glow of candlelight, her back to him, a vision of ethereal beauty framed against the opulent backdrop. For a moment, he simply watched her, taking in the sight of her graceful form, the gentle sway of her hips as she conversed animatedly with her companion. I'll give you anything you want. Just please, let me go. The first flakes of snow began to fall, blanketing the city in a pristine white that mocked the darkness gathering in his soul. But love had turned to ashes in his mouth, leaving behind a bitter taste of regret and scorn. He would drag her down with him, even if it meant embracing the darkness within him and losing his way forever. He should have known better than to trust her, should have seen the warning signs that she was nothing but trouble in a silken dress. The betrayal had cut him deep, leaving a wound that ached with every beat of his heart. He could still remember the day she had shattered his world, the day his trust in her had turned to ash in his mouth. It was a day like any other until it wasn't. A casual remark, a slip of the tongue, and then the world as he knew it had crumbled. She stood before him, the embodiment of his shattered trust, her face a mask of regret and sorrow. And yet, despite the storm raging within him, he had chosen to forgive. He had thought himself the bigger person, stronger than the pain she had inflicted. He had hoped that their bond, once unbreakable, could be mended. But he had been wrong. Oh, so very wrong. Forgiveness had only emboldened her, made her bolder in her deceit. And now he found himself ensnared in a web of her making, trapped in a game where the stakes were his very existence. He could feel the darkness rising within him, a potent force threatening to consume his soul. But amidst the swirling chaos, one thought burned with unwavering clarity. His lips curled into a sneer. His eyes hardening into chips of ice, he began his ascent to the top, fueled by a burning determination to reclaim his lost power and shatter her in the process. She had underestimated him, thinking him too noble to stoop to her level, too pure of heart to retaliate with her own brand of ruthless vengeance. As he closed in on his goal, he could sense her fear, could taste her terror on the wind. He had loved her once, loved her with a passion that had consumed him, body and soul. Now he was paying the price of his naivety, and the cost was his very essence. But he would not go down without a fight. He found her in the grand ballroom, the very place where she had broken his heart. A cruel smile touched his lips. It was a smile that did not reach his eyes, which burned with a cold, hard light. "Enjoying the party, my love," he said, his voice a silken thread laced with steel. "I lied," he whispered, taking a step closer. Terror finally flickered across her face, breaking through the facade of composure she had so carefully constructed. He leaned close, his breath hot on her ear. Her struggles grew weaker, her cries of alarm turning into whimpers of fear. "Let me go," she whispered, her voice broken with fear. He laughed, a harsh, humorless sound that echoed in the vast emptiness of the hall. Her eyes, wide with terror, searched his face as if looking for a way out, a glimmer of hope in the encroaching darkness. Why are you doing this?" she cried, her voice echoing the desolation of her shattered dreams. He shook his head, his eyes blazing with a terrible light. He tightened his grip, his nails digging into her flesh, drawing blood. "Hate is a strong word, my love." He carried her away, her limp form draped over his shoulder like a heavy cloak, and in that moment, he felt a strange sense of satisfaction, a twisted sense of justice served.